What a morning. So, it has been officially 24 hours since I got my second dose of the Moderna vaccine. And I just want to do a quick update. It's funny because I actually was scheduled to do my second dose at the same site where I got my first dose, right? That's how it usually works. But given that I started my job, and my job actually does vaccinations on site, because I work at a hospital, my supervisor was like, you can get it done here. And I'm like, you know what? That'll save me the time and travel. I won't have to go to Lower Manhattan to get it done. Granted, it wasn't that far from my place because I live like 3-4 miles from Lower Manhattan, but still, it saved me a trip. So I got the second dose yesterday at the hospital, and I got it on my lunch break. It was like 12 o'clock, right? I think the time she documented was like 12:17 when I actually got the needle went in my arm, right? And it's the difference that I noticed between my first and second dose is that with my first dose, you guys saw I made a live video, I recorded it live. I did not feel the needle at all. And I think the needle was different. It was a different size, different length. The needle for my first dose was much longer. And I think the circumference was much, like the diameter was much like smaller. So I didn't feel anything. I'm like, did you do it? Because I didn't feel it. I think it was just a really, really tiny needle. Whereas this one, the needle was a bit bigger, I think, like thicker in diameter and circumference. So I felt it like go in. I mean, I felt it when it made contact with my skin, right? And I'm like, okay. She was like, are you afraid of needles? I'm like, not really, but I'm still anti-vax, even though I'm doing this. And I only did it, and I talked to you guys about my reasons for why I chose to get vaccinated in my second video. I think I did 1 hour post-vaccine update video. So you guys can go check that out. But I just basically said I got it for my work, right? Because we live in New York City, and I know you guys have been probably following the updates with New York, but New York was one of the first states to mandate city and state employees to get vaccinated. It's just, right? So anyway, I got it, and to my surprise, after I got the first dose, I did not experience any symptoms at all. At all, y'all. I was just like, whoa. I think I was shocked because I'm like, okay, everybody is saying that they have like maybe a headache or a fever. I didn't have anything. And I kind of was anticipating it. And by the way, this is a smoothie I made. I made it this morning. And I made it with almond milk, ginger, mandarin oranges, banana, and strawberries, and kale. You had to get it back in October for work. I think it's going to come down to everybody is going to have to get it. So I thought long and hard about it. Don't get me wrong. I didn't just rush out and get it. I thought long and hard about it. But I felt like, all right, I weighed out like the cost of benefit. And I felt like the benefits outweigh the cost, right? Looking at the salary that I'm making. And I get it. Some of y'all say, oh, well, it's not worth your life. Like, what if you die? What if you have complications down the road and this and that and the other, adverse reactions? But I'm a spiritual person, so the approach that I took was to create a positive mindset surrounding it, right? Because I think we underestimate the power of our thought, right, and of our words. Because that's a whole frequency. It's a whole vibration. And so when I went and got my first dose, I went in with a very positive, optimistic mindset. I saged my body. I did the same thing for my second one. Granted, I got my second one during my lunch break at work yesterday, so I saged myself before I went into work, and even after I got home, and I focused my mind on positive things. And so I'm feeling okay. Granted, it's funny because everybody, like, that's why you can't really listen to other people, because everybody's body is different, right? So you'll have some people say, oh, the second dose is going to be much worse. You may not experience any symptoms with the first dose, but the second dose, oh my gosh, I was out for weeks and this and that and the other. And I'm like, I felt some like soreness in my arm. Granted, after I got my second dose yesterday, the soreness in my arm, the onset came on a bit sooner than after I got my first dose. So it took 6 hours for me to feel anything in my arm, right, after I got my first dose. But after I got my second dose yesterday, the soreness came on like, was it maybe 2-3 hours after? So I thought that was interesting. I'm like, okay, I can feel the soreness. And I was getting ready to head home. That's before I was leaving work. And it wasn't like excruciating soreness or anything. It's just like, okay, you can tell, okay, something happened there in my arm. But even like, it's crazy because after I got my first dose, I was like out and about in the city because I got my first dose in Lower Manhattan, at this site in Lower Manhattan. And after I got it, I was like out in Chelsea. You guys can see I went live 1 hour post-vaccine. I went live and I was just like out and about. I had a glass of wine. I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be drinking this, but I had a glass of wine. I had some pizza from one of my favorite pizza shops in Chelsea. And then I went to Chelsea Pier. I was walked through like Midtown. My normal self, right? I have a lot of energy and I find myself like walking a lot. So that's how it was after my first dose. Now granted, my second dose, even though like the soreness in my arm was a bit less intense with my second dose compared to my first dose, I feel like a bit soreness in my body. But then I don't know if it's due to the fact that I got this morning, right? I cleaned my place, scrubbed my tub, scrubbed my bathroom, all of that good shabazz. And then I wanted to like look for my laptop. Something was telling me like, yo, where the fuck is not my current laptop that I use. I have like 3 laptops, but my older laptop, I'm weird like that. I'll be thinking like, damn, I haven't seen it in a while. Where is it? So the thought came across my mind yesterday when I was headed out to work, and I started to look for it, but I'm like, no, let me just take my ass and get on the train. Because I'll be here fucking a whole hour looking for this shit. Probably longer than that. And so the thought popped up in my head again this morning, as I was finishing cleaning up. And I'm like, dang, I have this like really big size closet. It's like a walk-in closet in my bedroom. I have 2 closets actually in my bedroom. One is a like big storage walk-in closet. And so I have like a bunch of shit that I've collected over the years from like growing up. When I lived down in Atlanta, when I lived out in Los Angeles, you know. And that's where I have my laptop. And I'm looking in there, I'm like, damn. So my storage, I have it in containers, right? The containers vary in weight depending on what's inside of it, right? So, yo, much of those containers were like over 50 pounds, between 50 and 100 pounds. As y'all know, like, I used to be an avid reader. Not so much now, but I used to. And I have a lot of books. And I saved like all of my schoolwork too. So I have like all of that shit saved in like containers, right? And I'm looking for my laptop inside the walk-in storage closet in my bedroom. So I have to pull out all these containers. It's like 6 really large ones, and it's like 3 smaller ones, to give you guys an idea. It's like the size of the closet is pretty big. And so I'm pulling out the fucking containers. I'm lifting this shit, yo. And I'm thinking I'll be able to just go to like the first couple containers I see and look in there and like, boom, I'll find my laptop. And it's an older laptop. I don't use it, by the way, but I'm just saying that, like, something was like telling me, like, damn, where is it? So I'm looking, and then it's not in the first 2 containers. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have to like pull out all of this fucking shit in my closet just to fucking find my laptop. If I don't, then it's gonna be on my fucking mind. I'm gonna like run myself crazy, right? I ended up doing it, right? Pulled out all that shit. Do you know, after I put everything back in, right, I got discouraged. I'm like, okay, I still didn't find it. And then it dawned on me, like, wait, what is my laptop in? I remember that, okay, it was in a certain kind of laptop bag, like a flowery laptop bag. I'm like, oh, okay. And then something, you know how you get like those instincts that tell you where to look for something? Like, look this way, look up here. And it did. After I hadn't pulled everything out and put everything back in, I got that, like, instinct. And then I glanced at one of the smaller containers, and it was fucking in there, like one of the clear ones, right? I'm just like, no, I did not fucking pull all this shit out. So that was a whole workout. I say all that to say, like, that was a whole workout this morning. So I think that's probably where some of the soreness come from. Granted, I was so disappointed in myself that I didn't have like the spidey sense. I usually have really good spidey senses where, like, let's say if I'm looking for something, because I know where everything is in my place, because I'm very super organized and kind of anal with it. So I know like where to go to find things, right? So I was a bit disappointed and discouraging myself because I'm like, why the fuck is it taking me so long to find this goddamn laptop? This is unusual. So I'm like, I just got my 2nd dose of my COVID vaccine. Is it affecting my spidey senses? My ability to just be able to like receive messages? And it happens, yo. It's just like the universe will tell you, like, look there, look up, or look down, and boom. But no, I don't think so, because even after I got my 1st dose, like, I actually was walking through Harlem, and my universal spidey senses was like, look on the ground, and yo, I found a $20 bill. So I think I still got it, but yeah, I'm just feeling sore, I think, from like lifting all those heavy containers. And I'm just like, that's a fucking workout. When I say like 50, 100-pound container, yo, several of them. I was lifting those things. And the height, I'm saying, like, okay, not just like from the ground, lifting them up 2 feet. It's like I was lifting them up like to my height, like, and I'm like 5'8", like pushing them up, like. I'm like, it's a good thing that I lift weights. I kind of work out. I have like this dumbbell, and I just put it in my hand and lift it whenever I get bored. So it's a good thing I do that, because I'm just like, God, this shit heavy as hell. So that's the only thing I feel. It's just soreness. But like I said, I don't know if the soreness is because I had a whole fucking workout today. Did you experience any symptoms, any side effects of the vaccine when you got it? I think it's all in people's mind. That's what I think. After I got my 1st dose, I think I was super excited. So I had like an adrenaline rush. And I felt like this mystical feeling go through my body. It was like a surge that went through my, like, surge of electricity, I felt like. But I'm like, you know what, is this in my mind, or is it really like a physiological effect from the vaccine? But as I was leaving, you guys saw when I went live, as I was leaving that store where I got my dose, my 1st dose, yeah, I felt like this surge, just like, ooh, electrifying. But it could be all mental, right? Like, you have like these self-fulfilling prophecies. Like, if you believe something to be true, then it can be true, right? So people go into it thinking like, okay, I'm gonna have all these adverse reactions. It's like you can bring it on to your body. I felt the soreness in the arm the first dose. Just at the site of the injection. So that's typical. But yeah, I think my soreness in my body came from lifting all that heavy shit, yo. I'm like, whoa, why did I do that to myself? And then after I finished cleaning up, I put like all that shit back in the closet. And then, like I said, after I did that, that's when like my spidey senses told me to look to the right side of the closet, and I saw it sitting there looking at me. I'm like, you were here all along, weren't you? It's funny because I looked in that container, but I didn't look on the side of it though. I looked like from the top down to the bottom, and I didn't see it, but I wasn't looking for the actual laptop bag. That's what I was looking for, something else. I thought that the laptop was in, so I'm just and then I went grocery shopping. And in New York, anybody knows how grocery shopping goes? Because, you know, we go to our local market. I don't know anyone who drives to get groceries in New York City. But it can be possible, right? People do drive in New York. But I think I saw a statistic somewhere where like over 3/4 of the population here in New York City take public transportation and they don't drive. So when it comes to like buying groceries and doing shopping like that, we have carts, and we just take our little cart and just walk down, you know, the sidewalk and go to the market. So I filled up my cart at the grocery store with all kind of healthy stuff. At least I think it's healthy. Came back and made me this delicious smoothie. And I'm about to eat. I made some tuna just now. I'm about to eat a tuna sandwich and just relax. I think today is one of those days. I'm just going to chill inside. Tomorrow I may go out. But, oh yeah, after I got my vaccine yesterday, I went outside with my coworker. She's a nurse. And we just took in the sun. Nice, like, vitamin D fix. I think it was her idea. She was like, oh, you want to go outside? I'm like, hell fucking yeah. So we went to the park and we're just taking in the sun rays, chit-chatting. Oh, I have another video topic I want to come to you guys about. Because she sparked, like, an interesting topic in my mind yesterday. She's Indian, and she was telling me about how within Indian culture they have arranged marriages. So I want to talk about that, but in the next video. I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Feel free to drop your comments below and let us know if you guys, if you feel you know, inclined to share. Let us know if you got vaccinated, fears that you had. I talked about like all of that in my 1 hour post-vaccine update for my first dose, so check out that video. I made a whole like series on YouTube, so yeah, it's its own playlist that I created for COVID-19 vaccination, so y'all can check that out. And this is it. I may come back again to do another update probably in a week, because I am expected to receive my menstrual cycle. So I did do an update last month, or was it last month or this month? Yeah, because I got my first dose November 5th, so my cycle came on like I think a week after that or something like that, right, in December. So I did do an update with that, and I'm just like, everything is still working. That's my main concern. Like, does my shit still work? Yeah, me too. I was concerned about the long-term effects, but I think we'll be fine. I think, honestly, there was a lot of, like, fear-mongering with the media, because that was a big factor in my fear, right? Like, and I talked about this, how I would seek out videos to confirm my bias that I had, because obviously I had a negative bias against the vaccine. And I inundated myself, my mental, with all of these anti-vax videos and adverse reaction videos. That's all I was watching, right? And so it made sense why I was so afraid, because I was just watching fear-inducing videos. But then something went off in my mind and said, okay, given that I was seriously considering getting the vaccine for work, I'm like, it has to be another side to this. And so me being a woman wanting to procreate sometime in the future, I looked into some groups on Facebook, pregnancy groups that talk about, it's pregnant women or women who've already had children, but they're talking about their experience surrounding vaccination. And what I've seen is all positive, right? And so before I went to Facebook to search Facebook groups, though, I went to YouTube to see, like, okay, what are the ramifications for women conceiving, women who are pregnant, and so forth when it comes to getting vaccinated. And there were videos where they were like more like news stories or news clips. And in the comment section, people were just so negative, and all of the mothers were like totally against it, right? In the comment section on the videos I saw on YouTube. So I'm glad I stumbled across like Facebook groups of mothers who sharing their experiences. I mean, like different periods throughout, before getting pregnant, while they're pregnant, while they're breastfeeding. There have been women who have gotten vaccinated, and they share their stories, talking about those different points in their journey. And they're like, it went good, like nothing, nothing, significant, nothing major, like nothing. It's just typical, like, okay, soreness in the arm, but nothing that would be concerning or of clinical issue. So I'm like, okay, there's another side to it. If women are still being able to procreate naturally and get pregnant after they've gotten vaccinated, and even while they are pregnant are getting vaccinated and are having safe pregnancy, delivery, and all of that, and even after they give birth have gotten vaccinated while they're breastfeeding, and their babies are fine. They're like taking pictures of their babies and posting it. So I'm just like, that says something, right? But yeah, I get it. That's more short term, right? We don't know like longitudinally what will be the effects of vaccination, but I mean, I'm hoping for the best. So just staying optimistic about it. Oh, and I was gonna say, yeah, I think we've kind of like over-exaggerated with the media's help. We've like super demonized the vaccine. So we really think that it's just this terrible bad thing when perhaps it's really not that big of a deal. That's the reason why they're even talking about having or considering the option of like getting the boosters, because they're saying that it's not really that it's not as potent as people think it is. It's not that effective like the first and second dose, right? If you got the Moderna or the Pfizer, it's not. I think part of it was like the fact that it happened in the context of COVID. And y'all remember when COVID first came out, how the news, they got all up in our mind, all up in our subconscious, and really got a hold of us, really instill fear within the general public, right? And so we've already been activated, right, during this whole COVID pandemic, and then they're talking about bringing out a vaccine. Of course, we're going to have this hypervigilance, right? Because we're already like on edge anyway because of the fucking goddamn pandemic and all of these uncertainties and unpredictable things happening. Like, we just lost complete control. That, to me, and I talked about this before in like previous videos, for me that was like the scariest part. Not the virus in and of itself, but the scariest part for me was people's response to what was happening. Like, everybody was just fucking freaking out, and that the ease at which the media was able to control people's minds, like condition people's minds to think a certain way and behave a certain way in the name of health and safety. But some people were like extreme with it. And I talked about this before. I was catching a flight. I don't know if I was going to LA from New York or the other way around, from LA back to New York. But I was on a plane, and this woman, she just had like OCD at the max when it came to like this, her regimen, right? She had this whole ritual, and she did it so many times. And I'm sitting, like, this was when they had like social distancing on the plane, and she's like, there's a seat in between us that's vacant, and she's sitting in the aisle seat, and I'm at the window, and I'm watching her just like obsess over protecting herself. I'm just like, that's too much, yo. She just had her whole little thing set up. Her baggies, her antibacterial, her gloves. She had like a whole bunch of all of these supplies. And she would do this ritual like at least, and that flight is like 5 hour, sometimes 4.5 hour flight. She did that ritual, I would say, at least 8 times while we were on the plane. So just imagine. It's just like, it's just too much, you know, and people's just obsession with not getting sick, social distancing. Some people was like getting in fights. So that to me was the most alarming thing, I think, for me, and seeing how the media had that much power over people. Like, we know the power that media has, but just to see like it full force, right? You just get to see it and witness it in full force. Locally, nationally, globally. I was just like, wow, people's like, me being a psychologist, just to see it happen live in person, it's just like, wow, the power of brainwashing. I just thought that was interesting. And then, yeah, they really took control, I think, of people's mind, and even still to this day, like, now that the restrictions have been, you know, loosened a bit, people still wearing masks. People still like, all right, their minds are still conditioned, right? They have like stores, for example, my neighborhood market. They had it where they had a line and they only allow one person at the register. This is during the pandemic, but now that rule is like over and done with, and people are still like in a line waiting to go to the register, waiting to be called, as opposed to just going up to the register, right? And it's just like the level of conditioning. It blows my mind. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. But I mean, like I said, I think that most people are like, we're going to come around to everyone having to get vaccinated. So I think especially when it comes to traveling. I mean, because think about it. It's funny how like when the pandemic first, I call it pandemic, when it first happened, right, it was New York that was the epicenter. And this is when I was in transition, leaving LA, moving back to New York last year. And all my LA colleagues were like, you going back to New York? It's crazy there. Like, yo, they were like shaming me just for moving back to New York, which I had already planned to do anyway after I finished my doctoral studies. But they were like really on my shoulder about it, like throwing in my face, like And then what do you know? It came around to LA, right, where they had just as many, if not more, cases than New York had. And then the same thing is happening with the mandates, right? Mandatory proof of vaccination is required. And many establishments here in New York, including restaurants and entertainment venues, movie theaters, gyms, you know, here in New York, and we were the first to implement that. And then now, what do you see in LA? They have the same thing. On top of that, they added nail salons, yo. So just imagine how many people that is impacting, right? Where you have to show proof of vaccination just to enter these establishments, right? And this is LA. So I just think like these two cities that spearheaded these, like, that were at the forefront, you know, during this pandemic when it came to the number of cases and these legal mandates that they've implemented, It's just like, you know, they're two cities, right? But I think the rest of the nation is just following suit. And it's just a matter of time. That's my belief. So be careful if you live in another city or state and you just like, oh, you got your feet up thinking that, okay, it's not coming to you, because if you see it happen in one place, like a place like New York City, come on, yo, out of all places, yeah, it's coming around. It's coming around. So just hold your horses. And yo, it's like it's so many changes happening within the world. I heard that they even reverted back to stricter mandates surrounding international travel. So we in for it. But on that note, I'm going to end this video. Feel free to share your comments below, share this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.